Let's call the June 30th school board meeting to order. George, can you take roll?
Sure. Colonel Evans?
Here.
Mr. Grozan?
Here.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Here.
Mr. Micko?
Here.
Mr. Naso?
Here.
All present.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the part of the meeting when we talk about the district goals. We have two goals, student achievement and financial prudence. Every item on the agenda addresses those two goals. We realize that at times those goals are conflicting or at opposite sides, so we always have to balance student achievement against what's financially prudent to do, and with the blessing of our taxpayers, we try to do the best we can with that. So from there, we'll move on to item 5, which is recognition. Cameron?
Thank you, Mr. Naso. We have a series of recognitions tonight to share with the board and the community. The first is Master Teacher Certifications, and I'd ask Tanya Barba and Carol McKnight, two high school teachers, to come up to the podium with me at this time. About 3 or 4 years ago, I went around to all the buildings to share with them this program called Master Teacher. And the exciting part of it is the Master Teacher program is not something you have to do, it's something you want to do to grow as a professional. And over the past 3 or 4 years, we've had a series of teachers go through it, and Tanya, who's actually renewing it for the second time here. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the Master Teacher program. A Master Teacher demonstrates excellence inside and outside of the classroom through consistent leadership and focused collaboration to maximize student learning. A Master Teacher strives for distinguished teaching and continued professional growth as specified by the Ohio standards for the teaching profession. To be designated a Master Teacher in Ohio, eligible educators must submit a 12-page narrative and a portfolio of supporting evidence that demonstrates their prowess as a leader, collaborator, distinguished teacher in the content, instruction, and assessment, as well as focus on students and lifelong learner evidenced by continued professional growth. It's my honor tonight to recognize two Master Teachers, Tanya Barba and Carol McKnight, and who are both now eligible to obtain advanced teaching license in the state of Ohio. Tanya has been teaching at Strongsville since 2000. She has taught both art and Spanish, and has elected to renew her first Master Teacher from 2011 and now is receiving her second. She continually extends learning beyond her classroom through her international connections, and I believe we're getting ready to welcome some, remind me where they're from? El Salvador. So Tanya does a great job collaborating and traveling to El Salvador, and this school year we will have a series of guests coming to our district to learn from us as well. And also here, Carol McKnight. Carol has been teaching English at Strongsville High School since 2003. She currently serves as our department head at the high school and always goes above and beyond for both her students and her colleagues. Well, Tanya and Carol have not only demonstrated the above-mentioned characteristics of an exemplary educator through the Master Teacher submission, but on a daily basis in their classrooms. Thank you to both of you for all you do, your leadership and dedication to the students of Strongsville. Please join me in congratulating Carol.
You run the gauntlet, Carol. Thank you. Congratulations, and thank you.
Congratulations.
Muy bien.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, it's no coincidence you're all the kids' favorites. You're a master teacher. You as well. I always hear such great things.
Next, I would ask High School Principal Mark Smithberger to come to the podium, who is going to recognize our News Channel 5 Best of Class Award winner for the class of 2016.
Good evening, school board, and thank you for this opportunity. Mr. Rabbit, thank you as well. Every spring, Channel 5 asks us to nominate our top of the class. That is entirely a regional thing, so everyone in the Channel 5 viewing area gets to nominate one student. This year, we picked Andre Albertins. Andre, please come up. We can clap for him. Andre is an exceptional young man and a tremendous student. I'm going to give you some of his bio here. After 7 semesters of high school, he had the highest GPA in the class of 2016. His GPA is 4.75 out of a scale of 4. That gives you some perspective of what he's doing. Andre is a member of National Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta, which is the Math Honorary Society, and Rho Kappa, which is Social Studies Honorarium. He is the president of Rho Kappa. He's a member of Optimus Club and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's a DARE role model. His ACT score of 33 and his 4.75 GPA allowed him to be admitted into Case Western Reserve University, where he'll be majoring in engineering with a minor in mathematics. Andre, we're certainly proud of you, and you have done a great job at Strongsville High School, and you've certainly carried the banner of excellence in academics. Congratulations, Andre.
Congratulations, good luck.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Best of luck.
Congratulations, great achievement.
I like the tie, too.
At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Board Vice President Richard Micco, who will recognize our 2016 Culinary Team Competition First Place winner. Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Iba. I'm going to ask Chris Ritz and his mother to come forward. And again, this is one of my honors, but we get to recognize Chris, and he was part of the Polaris Culinary Team's, the team that went to Texas, and they brought home the national championship. So although the Cleveland Cavaliers brought home a championship, and although the Lake Erie Monsters did, the Polaris Culinary Team brought the first championship home this year, and it truly is a wonderful thing. So I do want to share a little bit about Chris. In addition to being part of that program at Polaris, he works at Santos, so he is using the skills he's learning already. He has a 3.8 GPA, and he's looking forward to repeating that championship next year. He hopes to be, he'll be a senior next year. He'll be on that culinary team again, and he's hoping to be the team captain. And I'm confident that he will be the team captain, and I'm confident that they will repeat the championship. But just to give you a little idea of what it means to win that competition, it is a 3-course meal. You don't have any electricity, you don't have any tools, you have 2 Bunsen burners, and you make a 3-course meal with 2 Bunsen burners. And to give you an idea of what you can make with 2 Bunsen burners, the appetizer was pan-seared scallop, Ohio sweet pea puree, creamed winter corn. The main entree was filet mignon, forgive me if I'm pronouncing this wrong, truffle foie gras, potato croquette, morel mushrooms, fingerling potatoes, leeks, and Swiss chard. And Chris was responsible for all of the course besides the filet mignon. Is that correct? So everything that goes with it. And then for dessert, there was a chocolate mousse with dark chocolate glaze accompanied by mango Bavarian almond coconut brittle. And again, all of this is done in a 3-hour time frame with 2 Bunsen burners. Everything in this competition, it's so much like the things we see on TV. It's throw another curveball, let's make it even more harder. There were over 40 teams. I like to say it was an international championship because one of the teams was from Germany. Again, we are so proud of you. I told Chris and his mom earlier that one of the things that makes me particularly proud is when we recognize these students, the students at home, the younger ones, get to see that example and can say, if he can do it, maybe I can set my mind to do it also. So Chris, congratulations.
Get him. Get him, Mike.
Congratulations. Now you're cooking with gas. Congratulations.
Congratulations. There's Mike Trevisano right there.
That's great.
He owns Trivs. You might want to stop by and just say hi.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chris, on an outstanding accomplishment. Moving on to more outstanding accomplishments this spring from our students and student athletes, I bring up again Mr. Mark Smithberger to recognize our high school athletes that participated and qualified for the track and field OHSAA championship and tournament this spring. Mark?
Before I get started, Chris, congratulations. Unbelievable job. And Rich, don't apologize. Those pronunciations those are almost all French terms. So it's not your fault. So, you did a great job. I am going to announce the boys state qualifiers first. I don't think they can make it this evening. Actually, I should preface that before I get started. I am not a track coach, nor am I the athletic director. I know the girls are shocked I'm not the track coach. So they couldn't be here this evening. John Soren is on vacation. Chris Koval had a wedding, and Andy Jolin, our athletic director, is on vacation as well. So I'm filling in for him, so hopefully I can pinch hit here and do okay for him. So certainly want to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of our male and female track athletes. Qualifying on the boys' side, the boys 400 team of Josh Collins, Justin Collins, Cameron Davis, and Reagan Puzatello. They were unable to be here this evening. Let's give them a round of applause, though. Qualifying means you're one of the top 16 teams, in this case a relay, top 16 teams in the state. So it's quite an accomplishment just to get yourself to Columbus to be a part of this. At this point, I'd like to ask the girls that are here this evening, I will announce their names to come up, then we'll talk about them individually. Cassie Martin. Cassie, come on up. I'll call you up individually, that's fine. Bethany Duluth. Madeline Kreller. Megan Sievers. Drew Robinson. Amelia Lesniak. Kelly McCafferty. Not all of them could be here this evening, but the ones here, we're going to talk about them all, but certainly want to recognize the ones here. Okay, just for a frame of reference, our girls' track team were regional champs. There are only 4 regional champs in the entire state, and we're looking at one of the regional champions right here, so give them a round of applause. That's a team championship. Our girls finished 7th overall in the state out of 67 teams competing at the state competition. I want to go through a litany of things here because some of the girls you're seeing in front of you competed in multiple events. So I'll kind of read the entire list of events, and then we'll highlight some of the individual accomplishments. Okay, girls qualifying for the 4x400 relay, Cassie Martin, Kelly McCafferty, Amelia Lesniak, and Bethany Duluth. The 4x100, they didn't qualify for the finals, they competed in the semifinals. Cassie Martin, Drew Robinson, Megan Sievers, and Madeline Kreller. And now to our placers. The 4x200 meter relay, placing 5th, Cassie Martin, Megan Sievers, Bethany Duluth, and Madeline Kreller. Placing 6th in the 400 meter dash, Bethany Duluth. In the girls' high jump, we had 2 placers. Placing 4th, Amelia Lesniak. Placing 1st in the girls' high jump for the 3rd consecutive year, Cassie Martin. Cassie's our first school 3-time state champion, and she next year will be high jumping at Duke University. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, ladies, don't leave me yet. Cassie. Bethany. Madeline. Megan. Ladies, great job. We're so proud of you.
Congratulations.
Mr. Ryba, do not challenge him to a race or to high jumping. That's a bad idea for you.
That is the most amazing thing. I mean, it's so understated. Like 3-time state champ is like the craziest thing. I mean, it's so amazing.
It's wonderful.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. Nice job. Give the states.
And once again, this is a testament to the hard work of these athletes. They train year-round. Track starts when it's snowing, ends when it's 90 degrees out, and they've just worked hard, and they're reaping the rewards of it, so we're really proud of you ladies. Great job.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations again to all of our student athletes. And I just want to reiterate what Mark said. I think we've gotten used to, we have such a strong track program in our district, and we've been successful for so many years. I want to make sure we realize how rare that is. How rare that is to have so many of our student athletes in one sport not only qualify and contend, but also, as Carl said, winning 3 state champions. That's state championships in an event, that's unheard of. And so just very proud of all the work you've done and how you've represented our districts, and congratulations to all of you. At this time, Mr. Naso, we have a couple donations to accept and recognize.
Okay. I just want to one more time
Sure.
talk about Cassie Martin, a 3-time state champ. It's just so rare. I mean, we're so used to seeing winners come by here, and because of the coaches, and I see a few of them in the back row there that deliver time and time and get the most out of our students. My dad was a 2-time state champ, and I mean, that was amazing. So a 3-time state champ, I mean, it was like just crazy. So I competed in sports my whole life and never got anywhere near that level. I know the effort that I put in. I can't imagine the effort that she put in. So I mean, I'm just awestruck by that. So congratulations.
You're a good student.
At this time, I'd ask Michael Trevisano and Brian Kiplinger to join me up at the podium. And Jimmy Carbone as well.
This guy get up here.
You're great right there. You know, in October, end of October, we officially launched and had this idea that we were going to put artificial turf at Pat-Catan Stadium. We hadn't raised $1 at that time, and we were talking about whether it was going to be the high school, and the middle school. And we got some donors in, and the ball still started to roll. And because of people and organizations like Brian and Jimmy and the Rotary and community members like Mike and Trib's Restaurant, in just a few months, we're now over $1.6 million that we've raised towards these projects. And the question's not can we or will we, but we're almost ready to open these facilities pretty soon. I was at the high school this afternoon. Jimmy was there checking it out as well. They'll be rolling the turf down next week. Wow. They're starting the prep for the groundwork at the middle school next week as well. And it's not about one individual. It's about a community coming together for a project. It's about wonderful community and service groups and business owners. And you know, Mike got on board months ago. And we've just been able to work it out for him to be here to properly recognize him. But on behalf of our district, Mike, I just want to thank you and Trib's Restaurant for not even batting an eye, but looking at how you can partner with us, how you could be a part of this project and be a part of this community, and donated $25,000 to this project. So thank you very much for that. Brian, yeah, thank you. You know, I think it was probably April or so, I was at the Rotary for one of their weekly meetings and giving a presentation on the update to the schools and sharing what was happening with a variety of things. And I think I had one slide on the turf project and just briefly mentioned it. And I got done, and at the questions and answers, Brian stood up and said, we would like you to come to a foundation meeting because we want to partner with the district on this turf project. I came to that meeting a week later. They had offered to donate $25,000 to this project and continue to move us forward. Again, both of you gentlemen and both of your groups, the type of generosity that you've shown to the kids and the students of our district. It's nice for us to stand up as a district and say, look at what we're going to do, but it's more important to see that we've got a great facility for our kids and for our students and for our community for many years into the future, and it wouldn't be possible without either of you. And obviously, Jimmy, you've been the workhorse behind the scenes, whether it be for the Rotary, whether it be working with Michael or a variety of other groups and individuals that we've brought up here to recognize. Although you're typically not up here with me, you're the one behind the scenes, making the phone calls, helping make the connections, and a lot of those millions of dollars are because of your efforts, and I want to publicly thank you for that as well.
Oh, come on down here.
Gotta run the gauntlet.
We should come to you.
Thank you.
Do I know you?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Hope you can get some games in. Thank you, Ron.
Mr. Ribe, if I could, just for a minute, while some of the kids are moving. When I first moved into the community, Jim Carbone was one of the guys who I first met, and he always said, proud to be Strongsville. There are other communities working hard, putting years and years and plans together to put turf on their fields, and we got it done within, 3 to 4 months. I'm also proud to be able to say that Rotary's been able to help us out. There's 4 Rotarians in this room, Jordan Ignastu, me, Cameron, Jimmy Carbone, and then Brian Kiplinger. And that group does a lot, so thanks again.
At this time, Mr. Naso, we do have to vote on the donation agreements. The first one is my recommendation that the donation in the amount of $25,000 be accepted from the Strongsville Rotary Foundation as part of the Excellence in Athletics campaign as found in Exhibit A.
So moved.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George.
Second.
Sorry.
Second, Duke, thank you. Any discussion? Take a vote.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Next, there's a recommendation from the superintendent that a donation in the amount of $25,000 be accepted from Michael Trivisano, owner of Triv's Restaurant, as a part of the Excellence in Athletics campaign, as found in Exhibit B.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, George.
Second.
Thank you, Duke. Any discussion? Take a vote.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
That's $50,000 for the
Yeah.
Excellence in Athletic
Yeah.
Committee. It's just incredible. We had $100,000 last meeting. It's crazy.
We got 1.6 million.
That's so incredible.
Yeah.
With that, Mr. Naso, I'll move to the superintendent's report to the community. A few items. First of all, Mr. Faust, our communications coordinator, has been working hard. We will have a summer e-blast go out tomorrow, just kind of give a midsummer or early summer update to our community. One of the things, Dan, he'll be featured on the 60 Seconds episode this week. He gives a nice tour of the brand new middle school, so kind of a sneak peek. He goes around, shows some of the music rooms, classrooms, commons, some of the different areas in the building. Obviously, we've never kept to the 60 seconds time limit, and this one is even longer. But it's a nice sneak peek of what the middle school will look like, and I'm sure Mark will have some updates in his part of it, but be on the lookout for that video coming out. Just a couple dates as we get going, and this will also be put out, but because of the construction and the timelines and parking, we usually have a middle school orientation or scheduled pickup day. That will be Saturday, August 20th this year. School starts the 23rd, but we will have that rolling in. 6th grade will be 9 to 10:30, 7th grade will be 11 to 12:30, and 8th grade will be 1 to 2:30. So that's the traditional pick up your schedule, wander the building, find your locker, find your classrooms, and it's also a little more exciting this year because it'll be the first sneak peek for our students and our families to see their new middle school home. Also on August 20th, you can make a day of it. Strongsville Chamber of Commerce is having their Community Day, celebrating the 200th birthday and Chamber's 75th anniversary, and that's going to be on the Town Center Commons from 11 to 3. Also, if golf is your thing, the Music Boosters are holding their inaugural golf outing, and that's going to take place Saturday, August 6th. And those are some of the timely updates. At this time of the year, I just wanted to briefly give some enrollment updates as to where we're at. As we look at the enrollment, we are seeing better kindergarten numbers and enrollment numbers than we've seen in the past 4 years. So right now in June of 2016, we have 284 kindergarten students registered. That's more than we had at the start of last year when students entered. As well, as you know, we are seeing less school-age students in our community just because of the number of students that are available. However, we are seeing the decline in our enrollment based on that reduce. We were averaging 250 to 300 less students each year. As of right now, our enrollment is down by 163 students, but it's early yet. We've got 2 full months before school starts, and we'll get a good significant number of enrollments through there. So good to see that we're seeing increased enrollment from years past in our district from the trend. And then finally, as I shared at our last meeting, we will continue. There are elementary sections at each of the buildings that are closed due to reaching our class cap guidelines. And those decisions as to where we may need to add some sections or where we will relocate some students will be made by mid-July and communicated to those families. And unless there's any questions about those items, that concludes my superintendent's report to the community.
Thank you, Cameron. That brings us to item 8, public comment. We have none? Oh. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we do. Oh, but they weren't in on time. Okay. Rich Ward? Well, we try to keep it to about 3 minutes and be nice.
Hello?
Hi.
You've
Rich.
been here before, I think.
Last meeting.
Yeah.
Rich Ward, 20684 Albion Road, direct neighbor of Drake Elementary. I just want to go over a couple things that we've been talking about. At our last meeting, we spoke about the possibility of purchasing a portion of the property of the school to protect our backyards and, our well-being, our way of life. That's what we bought that house for. Has anything been discussed about that, with you guys?
What will happen later on the board agenda is where the board will consider whether or not the property will go out for auction. If, pending on that decision, if that decision is to go out for auction, there's a time gap between that. And so that's where we would begin researching to see if that's a possibility. So that is still on my list to research, and it's all pending the board's decision tonight. Obviously, if the property's not going to be auctioned, then that's a moot point. But if it is, we said last meeting we would, and we will still continue to investigate whether that's a possibility or not.
Okay. And that window, just to be clear, is 30 days, right?
It's a minimum. It could be whatever the district sets, but it's a minimum of 30 days, correct?
Okay. The second, I just was curious. Why the public comment at 8, and we're going to speak about Drake Elementary at 17 when we're not able to respond, or are we able to respond after your comments or whatever you're going to discuss about the Drake Elementary future?
If I could, we had a special meeting so that the people around that property have the opportunity to make that comment. And we're also providing that opportunity today.
Okay.
After the decision, we've taken into account, I know personally, I took all my notes, taking into account for what my decision is. So here's your opportunity, Rich. But once we make the decision, either yay or nay, we're just going to continue to go. And then it's a standard format within the meetings. We have our public comment after recognition, but prior to the business of the district. So
Okay.
we're just following standard format.
Okay. And then, well, I guess that pretty much answers all of my questions. The retention pond and everything is kind of a moot point until it's purchased, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct. And obviously, every board meeting, there's opportunities for public comment, but you don't have to wait for public comment. If you have questions or would like to sit and talk with me or Mark at any time, Mark Donnelly's our Director of Business Services, you're more than welcome to contact us at any time between board meetings, pending the decision. We'd be more happy to sit down and talk with you.
Okay. I appreciate it. And, like you guys said, we do put our trust in you to do the right thing. And
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to a good outcome. Sure. All right.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. Sarah Martin?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, so at the last meeting that you did have on June, I wish this thing There was also a promise to investigate when this fire or police training was going to take place. Has that been established and or determined?
It has. There is no specific date or anything scheduled at either, at Drake Elementary School at this time. The police do have the opportunity before the building is demolished to do that. And as I said at the last meeting, I didn't know specifically whether they had it scheduled or not, but if this training is scheduled, we'll work with the police to notify the near neighbors of the training. And they typically have signs out. They'll put signs at the end of the driveway saying, you know, police training in progress. But there's nothing specifically scheduled. It's just as if they would want to use it and need it before we tear it down, we've said they had access to it.
And on the 16th, there were 8 fire trucks back there, just for the record. You explained at the June 15 meeting that there are 3 parcels of land. These, I believe, are the school building lot, the side lot to the west of the building, and a portion of the driveway. I also thought I heard at the June 15th meeting that there are 14 acres of land. I looked at the county's website information. I don't add up to 14 acres, so how many acres of land are there?
I'm going from memory. I believe it's, and I gave it to you as like 10.7 or something like that. I think the main parcel's like 7.4, another one's 3, another one's like 0.2 or something like that, so.
Okay, so 14 is not,
No, it's not
Okay.
correct. I believe it's like 10.7, somewhere around there.
all right. So now I want to talk about the resolution that you have on Exhibit V of tonight's agenda. It indicates the authorization to solicit proposals for the purchase of Drake Elementary at 20566 Albion Road. Since there are a total of 3 parcels, only one of which is defined as 20566 Albion Road by the county, what exactly is included in this public solicitation?
All 3 parcels, as we said last time.
I find it unclear to the public exactly what is being auctioned because 20566 has its own parcel number. So,
I don't believe there's, parcel 2, as you said, is just empty land.
Correct.
Parcel 1 is the driveway. Parcel 3 has the building on it, so I don't know what else we would call it since parcel 2 is the only one that has a building with an address on it. It is the intent that all 3 parcels will be sold at auction should the board go forward with that resolution.
okay, I do find it unclear because they have parcel numbers. One parcel has a street address, the rest of them are just parcel numbers. So perhaps that can be clarified when you take this vote, I guess. So another question regarding this auction, is it going to be an actual auction with a date that potential bidders have to be present at a specified time and place and date to appear in front of an official auctioneer? Or is this an open competitive bidding process with a deadline to turn in your bids?
We don't have the authorization to go and contract with an auctioneer at this time. So that question, I'd be more than happy to work with you and discuss that should the board authorize that. And should they authorize it, then we'll be able to sit down and give all the details. And like we shared last time, it has to be publicized for 30 days prior to any auction by our board policy. So that all the advertising would specify it. But anytime pending the board vote, if it's an approval of auctioning it, Mark or I would be happy to sit down with you and talk about all the procedures and what type of auction it would be. But we haven't done that yet because we don't have the authorization to do so.
So just so I understand, there's a 30-day publicizing that the 30-day vote will happen.
There's, per our board policy, we have to advertise it for a minimum of 30 days.
So on the 31st day, the auction could take place?
Correct.
So there's no 30-day auction?
I don't know if, what.
What I
I'm-
feel like I'm hearing is there's 30 days of publicizing, and then there's a 30-day period for the auction.
No.
No.
It's a
Okay.
30-day publicizing the auction, and then after that, you could have the auction on the 31st day if we should so choose.
Okay. So what sort of notice will be provided to the public regarding the auction? That will be in the newspaper, that will be on the city's, on the school website? Where will that be?
Yeah, we have, obviously, if we're going to publicize for an auction, we want to, hit the major newspapers. We want to get interest out there if that's what the board decides to go forward with. So it would be on the website, it would be in newspapers, it would be on
It'd be in the
auctioning
legal
sites.
notices. So we'd publish it in the legal notices, in the in the various
The plain
papers
dealer.
and websites.
Well, I can't say plain dealer. We would work with if we contract with an auction house, we would work with the auction house on what their advertising platform would be. It would obviously be in our local papers, but we would defer to their expertise as to what is the best publications for an auction to get the most attraction of buyers.
Will it be in the Strongsville newspaper or the Post?
I think we put everything in the Post. But again, I can't guarantee anything. It's going to be based on what the auctioneer decides is the best publication to get people here. If the main concern is when will people be notified, we will notify people through our typical communications. We'll notify people through the website so that they know it's posted.
Okay. So who is eligible to submit a bid if this auction goes through?
Again, we haven't worked through the process, but I don't think there's any restrictions.
Okay. What information will be required to be included with the bid package? Is it just, I will give you X amount of dollars, I will give you X amount of dollars and I plan to do this, I will give you X amount of dollars and I plan to do this within this time frame?
Again, though, I don't mean to keep on evading your question, but I can't answer those until we work with an auction house and the auctioneer to determine those specifics as to what they will be. And then we will, there's nothing secretive about this process. So as I've shared with everybody, if the vote is to go forward for an auction, we'll publicize that of what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what the bids are going to look like, what the reserve's going to be, minimum bid, all that stuff. And anybody that wants to sit down and meet with Mark or me to discuss it, we'll be more than happy to do that. I completely understand the concerns and the need for specifics for those families that have property touching the Drake property.
So will the minimum bid be advertised, or will it just be that folks don't meet your minimum bid criteria?
The mechanics, we can't answer questions to the mechanics of the bid because we haven't enlisted the service for the auction. We haven't approved the auction yet, so we can't give you the mechanics of how that'll work yet.
But again, we tell you that we, as a board, have the authority to reject any and all bids, even if it's up for auction. If it's somebody that's coming into the community, I mean, I get the feeling that you think we're trying to pull a fast one here, and we're not. Like Cameron said, it's a set procedure that's codified in the Ohio Revised Codes. We have to follow the rules. We will follow the rules, and the people on this board have pretty good judgment. We're all family people. We understand. And we're not going to put a strip joint or some bar or something else in there that would be really bad for a community like you have sitting outside of Drake. So, I mean, if it makes sense and we go forward with our vote tonight and we get a reasonable offer from a reasonable bidder, then that's the way we'd look at it. We wouldn't look at it like, oh, we're just trying to dump this property.
And I'm just a concerned neighbor of the school trying to find information. I'm not trying to pull a fast one on you. I don't think you're trying to pull a fast one on me.
Yeah.
I have this opportunity to speak. I have some questions that I'd like answered, and I'd appreciate
Well, you're
you
getting answers,
indulging me.
so press on.
So, given that the board has indicated that any bid can be refused, what is the objective criteria that is in place for evaluating the bids?
Again, Sarah, we had this long conversation on the phone 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
You had a series of questions at the last special board meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You've asked the same type of question now 6 times? No,
This is the
hang on a
first
minute,
time I've
hang on a
asked
minute.
this question.
We haven't even approved our superintendent to solicit an auctioneer or professional to place the property up for market. And at that point, this board, I'm sure, is going to have lots of questions, and a lot of those answers that you have, that you want answers for, we just haven't gotten to that point yet. I think we're all going to be very curious and wanting to know what kind of buyer it is or what they're going to put on that piece of property or those details. But we can't give you those details because we haven't gone through the process yet.
But I suspect you have an idea of the process.
The suspicion of an idea is a wonderful thought, but until it's actually on a piece of paper, black and white, we haven't sat down and put any details and come up with a summary. Not one board member can make a decision. It's all of us put together. So please understand, these are all little tiny details, but nothing's been firmed up yet. Nothing.
and I just heard that I have one opportunity to speak during number eight, during number 17, when you're gonna talk about the bid, there's no opportunity. So I want to get my questions out. So I apologize if you think I'm beating a dead horse, but
I think
Please,
the
go
one
ahead.
thing to consider is, there will be, as I said, I'd offer the opportunity to meet with us personally at any time. But just looking at the timeline, if the board approves the auction, the time that it's gonna take for us to get advertising going, and by the time the auction would actually begin, we have a July 11th meeting. So if you would prefer to speak in a public format, that July 11th meeting would be a perfect time where we would have had 2 weeks, or roughly 2 weeks from the time of the vote, where we could be more specific and better answer your questions than we can tonight.
I'll be here July 11th as well. Assuming that the auction goes through, and maybe you can answer this, maybe not, when will the bids be made available for public review?
I can't answer that. For the same
Is
reasons.
the intent to be transparent with the bids and how much they came in at and who they came from and what their intent is to do?
That's a question for the board. I can't answer that question.
We don't know yet.
We don't know until we go through the process.
It's difficult for us to answer these questions. We did go through an auction process when we had our house that was no longer needed, that we bought on Westwood Drive. So we had that auction policy, or, you know, action placed, but there was only one bidder, I think, for the house. So we didn't have a lot of experience with all these questions that you're asking. We're not trying to be evasive. We just don't know the answers right now. But once we decide if we're going to move forward and we have a plan, if you don't want to, you know, wait till that 11th meeting, I encourage you to talk to Mr. Ryba or Mr. Donnelly, and they'll have better information for you.
Well, I feel like I was here 2 weeks ago, we were talking about exploring an auction, and here we are 2 weeks later, voting on the auction. And so things are happening faster than maybe anyone wants to admit. And
No,
I
mean,
feel
we
like,
said in the last meeting that we had to move quickly on this. And so we intend to move quickly on this.
And you were there, right, Sarah?
Right.
You were there, and we told you exactly what our time constraints were, why we had the time constraints. Perception is for each individual to view. So maybe the 2 weeks is quicker for you than it is for the rest of us, but we've been very forthright and transparent with everything so far.
I will disagree that you told me when the constraints are due. You did say there are constraints in there with the demolition construction company to knock down the building. I'm curious of when, if the impetus is for the public auction is the demolition contract, when do you need to respond back to the demolition folks, and is there a perfect time for demolishing the building? If the auction doesn't go through, the next step, my understanding is a private sale, and so if the auction doesn't go through, are there plans to immediately go to private sale?
In terms of the timeline for our
If the
demolition.
auction doesn't go through, is our intention to go to private sale? What
Well, that's
does
your
that
next
even mean?
legal step.
Not one person, Sarah, on this board or any official within this district has yet to ever say those words. Not one. And I'd like to challenge you to tell me exactly who said that.
Ohio Revised Code 3313.41
No, Sarah,
says that's
Sarah.
the process.
Sarah, has one person on this Board of Education or in this administration said that after the auction, our plan is to go to private sale?
The letter indicates a sale. The letter that was dated to me, July the 9th, indicates auction or sale. I know the next step is a sale. You all know the next step is a sale.
It's the process.
Yes,
But I
exactly.
think what Mr. Grozan is stating is, we laid out the process. The process is auction, and should the board so choose after the auction, the next step in the process we legally could do is private sale. I don't think there's been any indication as to whether or not that would be viewed or done by the Board of Education. Not saying it won't be, not saying it will be. It's just, right now, what's in front of us and the decision ahead of us is the public auction. And to answer your question, August 1st is the deadline with the demolition contract that we need to take a look at.
Mr. Rabbit, if I may, just 1 second.
It's up to Mr. Naso.
one question, and,
In our letter, just in reference to what Sarah just said, our letter does
no, it's okay, I
say,
don't really care about it.
it does say sale. Our letter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have the letter here. So, and I guess this is more for Jimmy than the school board, but once a decision has been made to sell via this auction or otherwise, and the property has been sold, when will the city council meet to decide permitting, zoning, and planning?
That would be when the buyer submits plans to the city for rezoning change.
If it needs one.
That's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you. That brings us to item 9, approval of the minutes. We have the May 9th, May 19th, and May 23rd meeting minutes to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion? Vote?
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent. Brings us to the Treasury report.
Thanks, Mr. Naso. I have a series of items tonight. First off, item A, the financial report for month ending May 31st, 2016, which can be found in Exhibit C. Typically, I do a corresponding presentation along with it, but since the board meeting is at the end of the month and the information's a month old, I will not do my corresponding presentation, but those that are interested, I do have it prepared, and I'll put it on the website
All right.
to view the information. I will do, however, a presentation in August on how we finish the fiscal year. Today is the last day of the fiscal year, so it's starting tomorrow. We'll get the rest of this month reconciled and start the year-end close and have the fiscal year open by July 11th.
Excellent.
So item B, the fiscal year 16 amended appropriations. This is the final appropriation measure for fiscal year 16, needs to be submitted to the county tonight. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the amended permanent appropriations for fiscal year 16 be approved. Those can be found on Exhibit D. You can see I reduced several appropriations as part of the year-end adjustments. What I did was I made the reductions to bring down budgets to what the beginning cash balance was plus actual revenues received rather than estimated revenues. Item C, transfer of funds. And to this resolution, I need to make a change on the floor. Wherever it says to and then from, they should be flip-flopped or reversed. So I'll read it the way it should be. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that 17,623.78 cents be transferred from the general fund and to the Uniform School Supplies Fund 9 as listed below. This is to cover negatives within these funds. We use these funds to buy the consumable workbooks and any school fees and materials that are purchased from students and where fees are collected. This fiscal year, the transfer is only 17,000 where we have the negatives. Last year was 114,000.
And that brings those funds all to zero then to start our current year, right?
Correct. And the ones that you see that aren't listed here, the schools that aren't listed here will have a positive cash balance. So. Item D, approval of new funds, which can be found in Exhibit E. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that new funds be approved as listed in the exhibit. This is an annual resolution where the board approves the new grant cash accounts for the upcoming fiscal year. So with our grant cash accounts, they usually end, there's a special cost center, which is 90, and then the year, so this year was 9016. Next year I'm creating 9017 for the fiscal year. And then also added to the list are all the newly created student activity and general and non-general fund cash accounts for Strongsville Middle School. So for Strongsville Middle School, these are just one time that are listed just to get them set up. Item E, student activity programs, uniform school supplies, public school support, internal Rotary funds, and local grants proposed budgets for fiscal year 17. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the proposed budgets as listed in the exhibit for fiscal year 17 be approved. This is an annual resolution at the beginning of each fiscal year to approve the proposed budgets that are listed within those student activity funds. Item F, the fiscal year 17 temporary appropriations. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the temporary appropriations for fiscal year 17 be approved. These can be found on Exhibit B. Just as a reference, the board has until October 1st to approve an annual budget for the fiscal year, which is around the same time that the fall 5-year forecast is due to the state, which is due by the end of October. When I do the 5-year forecast and the budget, since those are prepared in close proximity in time, I like to have those match. So until we get school started, there's still some items that we're finalizing around staffing. We're receiving our non-personnel contracts around special education, insurance, and some other items. And then we're also preparing for the upcoming school year. So there'll be slight changes to the annual budget. What the temporary budget is made up of, for the general fund, it will be 50% of salaries and benefits and 100% of non-personnel items. A lot of the non-personnel items are encumbered at the beginning of the school year for opening. I'm basing the budget off the fiscal year 17 expenditures that I presented in the May 5-year forecast. For all the other funds, I have the annual amount that is listed, and then in September, I will give a full presentation on the annual budget along with the annual budget book that I first prepared last year as well. So you can see what makes up the budget in that budget book.
Okay.
Item G, investment management services. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that the board enters into a contract with Meter Investments for the purpose of providing investment management services.
Yay.
And Duke's been pushing me on this one, so I know he's excited. This will allow me to move forward with Meter Investments as a vehicle to invest our district operating dollars to earn more interest. Currently, the only vehicle we have for investments is an overnight sweep at U.S. Bank, and we also have savings account with Star Ohio and Star Ohio Plus. Meter currently works with over 150 local governments in Ohio, 50 of which are school districts, and also they work with the city of Strongsville. We had Meter present to us in the Finance Committee in March, along with another group, and the Finance Committee unanimously chose Meter to handle our investments.
Hang on, George. It's important to talk about because we had the meeting, Carl and I, as a subcommittee of the board, and one of the things this board has done since we took office was to look at how was the school using the money that we had to generate income, much as you do in a savings account. And as everybody knows, the saving rates have been terrible over the last several years. So there's other vehicles that are allowed by law, by Ohio code, but we weren't taking advantage of them. And since George has come on board, we did take a hard look at that. We started it under the previous treasurer, but George took it by the horns, and finally we're going to be able to get some good investments where our money makes money and helps to defray the costs in the district, which is a good thing for all of our residents, honors the money the community and the taxpayers entrust to us to make sure that we're leveraging what we do have in a safe and sound way to make a little money on our money and help to defray having to go back to the taxpayers for more money. So good job.
Thank you. Thanks, Colonel. All right, so moving on to the next item, item H. This is off the consent calendar and would require a separate vote. It's the resolution for renewal of an existing current expense tax levy. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that a resolution be approved declaring it necessary to renew all of an existing current expense tax levy and requesting the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to certify the total tax valuation of the school district and the dollar amount of revenue that will be generated by that renewal levy pursuant to sections 5705.03B and 5705.212 of the revised code. For those interested, the resolution is found on Exhibit H. Just to talk a little about the process, this is the first of two resolutions for the expiring 6 mil 5-year renewal levy to be on the ballot for the November 8th elections. This resolution requests the county to certify the total tax valuation of the levy. Once certified, at the next board meeting, we'll have a second resolution approving their certification to move forward to be on the ballot in November. I will be going down, if approved, I will be going down to the county tomorrow morning to get that certification, so we have it in time to turn it around for the next board meeting. Once the second resolution is acted upon, I will need to file both resolutions along with a certification to the Board of Elections no later than August 10th. The levy is set to expire in tax year 2016 and collection year 2017. Currently, the levy generates about 7.9 if collected in full, and 7.6 million at our current collection rate, which is about 96%. To be clear, this is not a tax increase. The renewals to maintain our current tax collections and revenue. When the levy was originally passed in 2002, it was passed to collect a certain dollar amount. As property values have increased throughout the years due to House Bill 920, the millage effective rate lowers to collect the same amount that was originally intended to collect, with the exception of any new construction. For example, this 6 mil levy's effective rate is 5.46 mils against today's property valuations. So with that being said, I'll turn it back to Mr. Naso for a vote.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Discussion. I would just like to say that this is a renewal of an existing levy. It's not a tax increase. It's critical. It provides critical needs and services for our district. It's very important, and we need to ensure that we get this done. But it is, once again, it is a renewal. It is, when was the last time it was renewed, in what?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. So I just want to bring that up. Anybody else have any other comments? Nope. Vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes. And with that, I will drive tomorrow morning to the county to get the certification, to have it on the agenda for our next meeting for the second part of it.
Drive safely.
Thanks. And the last item I have is item 10, or not, item I, food service management company contract out of food service fund. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the treasurer that a contract between Strongsville City Schools and the Compass Group USA Incorporated by and through its Chartwells division for the management of the district's food service program be approved effective July 1st, 2016. The exhibit is an addendum to the RFP. The RFP was close to 60 pages long, and for anyone that wants to copy the RFP, it's in file in my office. Just contact me if anyone wants to see it. This is a follow-up to the Food Service Committee's recommendation that was given a few months ago on Chartwells to be our food service provider. At that time of the recommendation, the work that was needed to be done was to finalize the contract with Chartwells and receive approval from ODE, which earlier this month both have been done. This is the resolution to enter in the agreement with Chartwells, which includes an option for the chef that was discussed. The attached exhibit is the addendum to the RFP. With that, it's not part of the consent calendar, so I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Naso, for
Have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Duke. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion? Yeah. Nice job, George. I know you put a lot of effort into this, and you've been working hard on it, and you've probably learned a lot about the food service
I did a lot.
industry in the last 3 or 4 months. So, nice job.
Thank you.
Take a vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes. And with that, I'll turn it over to Cameron, as that concludes my
And
report.
before we go there, I just want to thank Duke, who initially brought this up. And at first, it seemed like this couldn't be done. And we persisted, and we worked, and we looked, and we checked, and we put out the RFP, and now we got it done. And I'm just thrilled to death to see the quality of food next year when this gets into full play. So nice work, Duke. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm excited for the kids. All you parents out there that send bag lunches, try it. You might like it. I hope you will like it.
Excellent.
And-
Cameron?
All right, under timely
Mr. Rahman, one
information.
more thing, I'm sorry. I just wanted to add something what Duke,
Sure.
Colonel Evans just said. With that, with the parents, we're communicated, but we are working with Chartwells to have a community type event where they can come try the food and see what they have to offer. So we're still kind of coordinating that, but we're going to have something either right when school starts or a little bit before. So,
All right.
sorry, now that concludes my report.
Thank you, George. Under number 1, we have contingency calendar. This is an annual approval. Even though the state of Ohio has changed from counting days to hours, and we have so many hours in the bank that it would be rare that we would ever need contingency days for most of our grade levels, we still need to approve the following dates as contingency calendar dates in event that the days must be made up as a result of weather or other calamity. The 8th and 9th are the Thursday, Friday of the end of the school year, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the following week are the following dates. All of our grade levels and full-day kindergarten have significant amount of hours except half-day kindergarten. And for the past 3 years, we've adopted, and it's up again this year, for the Calamity Day alternative makeup plans for 2016-17. This authorizes this alternative makeup plan for the school year as it's posted in Exhibit J. This would be blizzard bags, and it's written for half-day kindergarten only. So should we, that way those students, if we should go over their hours, wouldn't have to come to school for additional time. They would make it up through blizzard bags, which Erin Green in her office has those all prepared and ready to go should we need them. Under number 3, we have the administrative handbook to be adopted for the period of August 1st, 2016 and through July 31st, 2019. On the next page, we have the leadership handbook to be adopted for that same period of time. And that concludes my timely information update, unless there's any questions.
Nope.
All right, with that, I'll ask Director of Business Services, Mark Donnelly, to come up with his report for the month.
Thank you, Mr. Ryba. This evening under Business Services, we have 6 items. We have the 5 that are listed in your agenda, and there's also an addendum, I believe, should be in the very back of everyone's agenda. Item 1, the district insurance for the 2016-17 school year. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Director of Business Services be authorized to purchase property, inland marine, boiler and machinery, crime, automobile, general liability, and umbrella insurance from Liberty Mutual Insurance Company. Our agent is Todd and Associates Incorporated, as endorsed by the Ohio Schools Council at 1-year contract price of $288,918 for the period of July 1st, 2016 through July 1st, 2017, which includes all school groups. Last year's cost was $273,823. Be it further resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education recognize the following groups as authorized school groups and that they are included in the Strongsville City Schools insurance policy. Is it necessary I read all those names, or can everybody?
Absolutely not.
Okay. And this could be found in Exhibit K.
There are 2, Mark, before you move on, there are 2 that we want to remove from this list.
Okay.
We do want to remove Strongsville Early Childhood Preschool PTA. The reason being, these should be school-affiliated groups. We're adopting a policy that will be up for first reading next time that talks about the requirements that school-affiliated groups should have with our district. This is our community preschool, and really, they work closely with our other PTAs, but really aren't under the purview of the school district. And the second one is the Strongsville Hockey Association. In talking with our athletic director, we see no reason why that separate group needs to be under there, as they would fall under the athletic boosters. So we're asking to strike those 2. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Item 2 under Business Services tonight, pupil transportation agreement. This is a standard thing we do each year with suburban transportation. The exact dollar amount is variable each year due to the frequency of services used and the number of special education students need that service, sometimes all year long, sometimes for a few weeks, sometimes it's sporadic. However, the resolution is, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Director of Business Services be authorized to enter into an agreement with Suburban Transportation Company for transportation of special education and handicapped students from the Strongsville City School District to classes at schools out of the district for 2016-17 school year due to the impracticality of transporting these students by Strongsville City Schools bus transportation. And the details can be found in Exhibit L. Item 3, which is not part of the consent agenda, will require a separate vote. This is a change order for the middle school construction project. This has to do with additional testing. Now that we are in site work and we've gone through 2+ years of the construction, we're down to the bottom of our testing budget. We do need to add some dollars so they can test the soils to make sure the compaction is correct. It'll support the road and different things we're doing with it. Also, if there's any kind of contaminated soils that have to be specially handled, they test that to make sure we don't overpay for too much handling of things that may be hazardous but not to the level it requires major expense. Anyway, be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the execution of a change order with GPD to provide additional construction testing services for the middle school project at a cost not to exceed $71,500. Funding to be from the Middle School Construction Fund.
I do have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second, Duke. Discussion. I assume that GPD and RFC are all in line with that we need to do this. Yep.
If the board remembers, we found a fuel tank on the center site. Well, we found some additional unsuitable, let's call it soils. The first impression, the first thought was these were hazardous materials that needed to be taken to a special site. The cost was extensive. Well, when the testing was done, it wasn't as bad as everybody thought. The cost of removing it was far less than what it was. So we're being careful. We're trying to make sure that we do everything correctly. Remember, our retention pond was in the back, where that retention pond is now gonna be our turf field. It had to move forward, so we wanna make sure we do everything correctly, not just for today, but for the next 50, 60 years.
Okay, thank you.
That's where those outhouses were.
And can I add one more point? This is just simply a dollar amount to be used for testing. Should testing not be needed, we don't
Yeah.
spend all of this.
Right.
We only spend
said.
what's needed.
Well said, Mark.
Excellent. Any other comments? Take a vote.
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
And Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. The fourth item on the business agenda tonight is a gift from the Ohio chapter of Safari Club International has donated $500 to be used towards the purchase of archery equipment for the Strongsville City Schools Middle School Archery Program. That is the most well-funded program we have. They're getting grants every time I turn around. And we have archery equipment just coming out of our ears at the middle
Yeah,
school.
we need to,
We can thank them. I mean.
Yes.
That's incredible.
The person in charge of the archery program is definitely going after funding. Make sure we have
Jeff
what we need.
Martinelli, he's doing a great job.
yeah,
of,
excellent. Jeff
trying to start that
Martinelli?
Jeff Martinelli, he's
Yeah.
a PE teacher doing a great job trying to start that program.
Excellent.
Um,
Excellent. Maybe we can even see an apple on Mr. Dollar's head.
I may be brave, but I'm not stupid.
You're a wrestler, right?
I don't want to mix the agenda around a little bit too much, but I would like to go to the addendum to the agenda, which is item 6, and skip item 5 for the final part tonight. The addendum is a change order at the high school to be paid out of the 004 turf fund at the high school. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education approves the execution of a change order with GPD to provide all material supplies. This shouldn't, I'm sorry, there's an error in this. It's not a change order with Hammond Construction, not GPD. To provide all materials and supplies to provide soil stabilization for the high school football field project at a cost not to exceed $50,741.13, funding to be from the high school turf fund. This is needed, as explained by Jeff, and I believe there's many discussions and emails went back and forth, but to get the field right now and make sure it's stable, because all the trucks that keep coming over the field, as I'll show you in a few pictures here shortly, all the stone, all the fabric, all the different loads of equipment and dirt that come across that field, it has to be stable. This is important, and because of the testing that was done on that site, they realized we had spots that were not completely stable. You don't want to roll a heavy truck over bringing stone and get the field wavy. You'll never fix it. We have to stabilize the field now. And based on the field conditions, this is necessary to stabilize that field to make sure the field is perfect for our students and our athletes.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Duke. Just one comment. We had a contingency amount built into the field turf project. And this amount would come out of that contingency?
That's correct. We had about a quarter, $250,000 of contingency, and this will come out of that.
Okay.
Good planning, Cameron.
Any other comments or questions? Let's take roll.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Excellent.
Okay, I have two items that are not on the agenda, more of announcement of issues. Bricks that'll be coming from the Center Middle School demolition have been approved. We will pick up a load of bricks and bring them to the bus garage area, the support service area, for the public to come by and pick up a brick from Center. Because the Center parking lot is completely torn up, heavy equipment everywhere, it's really unsafe to have the public stopping by at random and grabbing a brick out of a pile of this construction area. We're bringing those bricks to a safer area for the public to pick up, down near the bus garage. We will put up signs right next to where this pile is, on the very edge of the parking lot, across from the former Pupil Services building, which is about to be demolished. But these bricks are strictly from Center Middle School. If the pile declines to next to nothing, we'll bring more bricks over so everybody in the community can have an opportunity to get bricks through the month of July. Once they start tearing down the board building, we will remove any remaining bricks from Center, and we will bring board building bricks over to the same area. Just because of the safety factor and getting in and out of that parking lot for the public is hard.
Are we charging anything for them?
The taxpayers paid for those buildings first time around.
Yeah, but why not just ask for donation? Could
Well,
help with the turf
I guess we
rut.
could ask for donations, but having someone stand there is a little awkward as far as manning an opportunity.
Well, you're laughing. We had an idea. There was another school district that actually sold bricks to the community for pavers that were put in around as a walking track around their football field. And it was a small community, smaller than Strongsville. They raised $3 million doing that. And so for quite some time, we've talked about maybe getting the bricks, these wouldn't be built in, obviously, but I mean, you know, either engraved or whatever, so somebody'd have a keepsake type thing. So that's why I asked, but, because I don't mind just giving them away, but.
We couldn't find anybody to truly manage that process and take charge of it, clean up the bricks, provide a safe way for the
What are
public.
you
to
doing?
I got my afternoons free.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's for the public to come and get bricks. That's an announcement, so people can get bricks. And I have one other announcement for the people over here about the auction of Drake. Please don't be confused when you hear about a loose furnishings auction at Drake. It is not the same thing. I'm selling desks and chairs. August 13th, loose furnishing auction. Not related to the public auction. Please don't get upset that we're hiding anything. We're just getting rid of old desks, chairs, tables that people no longer want. Okay? Just wanted to be clear on that little aspect. Now, the construction update, unless there's questions about anything else.
Nope.
Center Middle School. This is a picture I took from the front door of the building, looking out at our old Center Middle School, and the demolition has taken place already. This is the back of the brand new middle school. The courtyard you can see, there'll be trees in those raised concrete areas. Those are planters and benches kind of combination, kind of a neat feature of the building. This is just a grading of the site in the very back of the building. The two or three bulldozers working like crazy back there to make sure the land is graded exactly according to plan, to make sure that the water flows properly, and we'll have grass planted on here very soon. You could see what it's basically going to be, the road around the building, the area that's well traveled. This is just another angle from the same exact spot looking to the south. This is the retaining wall. I think Derek has mentioned the retaining wall several times. I don't know if anybody really knew we had this retaining wall. On the left side of this picture is what would be the road around the building. On the right side, going down the hill, will be bleachers to the football field, and you'll eventually see the football field and track formed down below that area. A picture from just underneath the awning of the old Center Middle School of the demolition. Walking a few more feet ahead, you see more demolition and what's gone on so far, and I'm sure they've moved further past this. This is 2-3 days old. Our former board building, the asbestos abatement process has started. Windows are being taken out. A lot of items that no longer are needed in the building and need to be removed have been tossed out here. They will eventually pick those up, cart them away, but the process has started for the board. Excuse me. And this is just the south part of the park. Excuse me. The north part of the parking lot that we've parked in for many, many years is now gone. It's rubble. Part of the reason why, as they move into tearing up more of the parking lot and driveway access, it's just unsafe for people to come in and try to stop in on their lunch hour to grab a brick. There's 4 or 5 big backhoes moving around at all times, trucks delivering stuff. It's just, and keep the public away from that activity. Inside our new middle school gym, this is just a shot. There's actually, Dan took much better shots of our gym that you can find them on the video he's going to let out, also release. There's also some pictures he put on the site already, but our middle school gym's coming together. We got a lot of equipment in there. We got a lot more to bring over. We got to work with our PE teachers as far as how much actually comes over. This is our stage. It looks like there's shadows on the stage, but truly they're painting the back of the stage black. They're just getting to the process of, because that's the way stages should be set up, with it completely black in the background, but they're working on that process. This is a little bit washed out, but as we move into the building, there's work being done in the classrooms. They're moving some things around. So we're staging the delivery of materials in the hallway. As soon as the learning walls are placed in the final resting spot, we will be bringing the materials in near the learning wall so they can be unloaded, and most of the items from those boxes will end up inside the storage area of the learning wall. Cafeteria, actually I stole the shot from Dan. He took the shot. It was too good to pass up. So the cafeteria looks awesome.
That is an awesome, I mean, when you look in there, I walked through there the other day. When you see that picture, when you walk in there and you see that lighting, it takes your breath away. That is an incredible
Yeah,
area.
it's something to behold.
It's a commons, not a cafeteria.
Speaking of
My mistake.
lighting, what LEED certification are we achieving, or don't we know yet?
Silver minimum,
Okay.
but I'm thinking there's a few pieces and parts that have to be verified and certified, whatever, and checked off the list. There's a few things they were shooting for. I don't know if they're going to hit gold, but that they were going to definitely hit silver.
Yeah. The cost to get the gold was pretty significant, if I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some little things you can do,
Yeah.
but like for instance, you can put a bike rack in and get a point. That encourages kids to ride a bike and save energy that way. There's some other little things you can do.
Against that.
This is now on to the high school. The high school has a lot of outside work going, which we're going to see here shortly, but obviously the parking for the staff in front of the media center is it's torn up. They're doing some work on it to stabilize certain areas, and they'll eventually be paving this soon. This is the courtyard inside the high school. Many people don't see it unless you walk through the halls of the high school. The round, I'm not sure what you want to call it, stage or platform that was made out of bricks and was crumbling in the middle of the courtyard is now gone. New pieces of sidewalk have been put in, other new pieces of sidewalk. Obviously, we have some landscaping and whatnot to do, but they're doing the work in the courtyard now. There's some other lighting and things like that they will be doing as well.
Wow.
The 6 temporary classrooms we put in 2 years ago are completely gone. I was asked at least a dozen times in the last 2 years, you're really not going to get rid of these, are you? Yes, they're gone. The media center, and actually if you look up above the top part of that picture, you see light coming in as if we got a hole in the roof or something. It was kind of shocking to me. I never realized we had windows up there, but when you took the drop ceiling out, there's an area above that allows a lot of exterior light to come in. I'm not sure if that stays. It'd be a nice feature for the media center, but this is from the front door of the media center looking right in where you used to walk past the circulation desk, and the offices that used to be back there, obviously gone. The upstairs of the media center, which used to be offices, last semester was a study hall, now getting ready to become media center. Standing outside the hall of the media center, looking at, they've put those entranceways, actually not entranceways, they're going to put glass block in there. It's a different feature of the media center. Instead of a block wall, it's going to allow more light in from the outside, but it's just a different feature. The lockers we did not get at the end of last summer because of the snafu with the locker company. They're in, they're installed, all the old lockers are gone.
And let me just hit, the snafu was the company went out of business. It wasn't, we placed order, they went out of business, we had to reorder them, that's all.
Don't ask me how this works, but somehow they got bought up and they went back in business 3 weeks later. But either way, the order got canceled and resubmitted or whatever. We eventually got our lockers, but they're here. You ever wonder what a gym looks like when they're tearing up the floor? I'm not sure what the brown stuff is underneath, some sort of cushioning material that they used in 1964 when they installed the gym. But all that had to be scraped up. A lot of heavy machinery used to scrape it up with.
Wow.
all that work, all that stuff, that took a lot of time to get up off the gym floor, and in almost the same angle, here's the more recent picture. The flooring, this underlayment, under support is down, they're putting the floorboards in place, and they're getting the gym floor put in the middle, in the high school gym right now. Here's our kitchen. They've decided to cut new drains in. This is part of the process. It's nothing new, no change order. This was part of the process. It was planned, putting new drain lines in, some electric runs. All of that had to be put into the concrete. This is only some of the saw cuts that were made in the concrete. There's many others. I didn't want to bore you with all of them, but there's plenty. There's a lot of work going on in the kitchen area.
Hey, Mark, did we get Chartwells to see what this is gonna look like at the end?
They were issued drawings of the plans before the bid ever started, mostly because they didn't have the opportunity to see what the final product was going to be. There's no renderings issued from the architect's office on what it's going to look like. But they did get all the plans, the equipment placements, and the flow of traffic in the kitchen. That was part of the RFP.
Okay.
These floor drain being put in the kitchen here. This is a feature our kitchen never had. It seems simple, but this is now an entrance separate from the exit into the kitchen. Where kids will enter here, go around, pick out their food, and come out here.
Wow.
And the congestion and the two-way traffic and the single lane thing is gone. So much more flow. Hopefully it makes it easier for kids to come in and out. Makes it easier for staff too, tracking who paid, who's coming, who's going. I don't know if you can make out this feature real well, but there's this curved wall. There's a curved soffit up above where it's just a unique feature that Rodwell designed into our kitchen to kind of separate areas. So there's, not all one big room. There is some separation to some areas. Obviously still being worked on, but it's just a feature that's being built into the cafeteria.
That's where the old trophy cases used to be when you would walk in to the right, just so you kind of get your bearings.
Okay.
Here's a feature I know was talked about and asked about many, many times. Doesn't look real impressive right now, but it is a base for a light pole that's going to be right near the crosswalk, the sidewalk going across the bridge. It's going to be a two-headed light pole, so it goes towards the parking as well as towards the bridge. So there's plenty of light in this area. It's safer for students and even people during, after football games and such like that.
Two heads are always better than one, Mark.
The culvert that we talked about replacing underneath the road, this is the replaced culvert. A lot more work left to be done, but the culvert is in place. 2 culverts are in place, and they have to shore it up, et cetera, but the work has started.
Under the pedestrian bridge too?
This is the
That's
traffic
the
bridge.
road.
So the pedestrian bridge is going to be worked. The pedestrian bridge has not been done yet, but it's going to be done.
Okay.
These are drains that they're putting into the large student parking lot. People refer to it as the band lot, whatever. These should help keep that parking lot in good shape for many years to come, taking the water away instead of allowing it to do damage underneath the parking lot. The front entrance of the high school, completely ripped up. They're going to make it a magnificent entrance to the high school, something worthy of Strongsville. That's going to be done shortly with safety bollards out front by the curb.
Excellent.
And safety bollards here as well in front of the auditorium entrance around the corner from the main entrance. That's all been ripped up. You don't see it real well. It's kind of washed out in the picture, but that is being worked on right now. And finally, our turf football field. I think this picture actually shows all 3 of them show the same process, but you can see the dirt, the stabilized dirt in the middle, the fabric that goes on top of it, the black material, and at the very edge, you see the stone that's being piled up on top of that fabric. And on top of that stone will come our turf football field, and on the field will come the but the material that the kids will actually land on and keep them from landing on straight on stone. But you could see the work on the field is moving along well. And as Cameron said earlier, the carpet, the field will be put down next week, right?
A new flagpole in yet?
No,
No.
the new flagpole's still being designed. The goalposts went in today. They're officially in, but the flagpole, they're finishing up the design and getting everything ready to go.
And that is the construction update, unless there's specific questions about any piece of the construction.
Nope, I walked through the other day, the building looked incredible. It's really,
A lot of great work being done.
Everybody have a nice 4th of July holiday.
you too, thank you.
Mark.
Mark. At this time, with the curriculum report, Aaron Green, Director of Curriculum. Aaron?
Good evening. Tonight under curriculum, we have the following 8 items for your consideration. Item 1 is a recommendation for a textbook adoption for the AP Environmental Science course offered at the high school, as shown in Exhibit N. Item 2 is a recommendation to enter into an agreement for the 16-17 school year with Ronald Stewart and Associates for his federal grant consultative services, as shown in Exhibit O. Item 3 is a recommendation to again participate in the Ohio Online Learning Program through the Cuyahoga County ESC for interested elementary and middle school students. Item 4, recommendation to pay textbook costs as required by Ohio law for Strongsville students attending Cuyahoga Community College through the College Credit Plus. For items 5, 6, and 7, they are recommendations to approve the 2016-17 elementary, high school, and high school athletic handbooks, respectively. And lastly, item 8 is a recommendation to approve and adopt the student fee lists for the 2016-17 school year as presented to you. Questions I can answer for you?
Quick question.
Sure.
For number 3, the online,
Yes.
Ohio Online Learning Program, that is for those students and parents who choose to have their students homeschooled, but still provides a link to us and to our school district, correct?
Mostly, yes. They're not technically homeschooled. They're still enrolled in Strongsville City Schools, so we don't lose the allocation for them. However, yes, we provide the curriculum through the ESC.
For me, it's the important part that the students still have a link to the school.
Correct, yes.
To the teachers, to extracurricular activities.
Exactly.
So our program provides so much more than an ECOT or another program,
Right.
because they actually they can have contact with our district and actually be able to come in maybe a year, 2 years down the road when their issue passes.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely. Sure.
Aaron, do you happen to know on number 1, how that textbook treats global, climate change?
Offhand, I do not. I do have a copy in my office.
Okay, if you get a shot, just check it out tomorrow. 'Cause
Okay,
I'm curious.
sure. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
Next up, we have Andy Trujillo, Director of Special Education, with a report for Student Services.
Good evening, members of the board. 4 items for you today, this evening. The first is ASG, which is our LEAP program, not our LEAP program, but a program through ASG for basically an alternative education for high school students. We've not used this program in a couple of years, but we have had students in the past transfer over to where they become our responsibility. They're enrolled there, so it's nice to have a open contract with them in case that were to happen. It currently costs nothing for the district. Okay. Item number 2, PSI affiliates. This is a correction to an agenda item from May 21st of 2015 because it was a 3-year agreement for nursing, and the cost has gone down for the coming year and the year after that.
That's always good to hear.
It's good to hear, right. And that's just because of not such a need for as many staff members from the PSI. Okay. Anything to add, George? Number 3, Educational Service Center of Cuyahoga County. This is to enter into an agreement with Positive Education Program Services, better known as PEP. We have some students that are served there and sometimes go in and out of that program. And lastly, this is for Central Ohio Medical Review, which is part of our Medicaid billing. There's a new requirement August 1st that was brought on by the Affordable Health Care Act, where because we bill for Medicaid for students for certain services, all of their services now have to be go through the referral process. It's a way for the system to avoid fraud and abuse. Only certain qualified people can do that referral process, a physician, a certain level of nurse, so forth. So we are hiring this service to review all of our students' IEPs and to make that referral process happen so we can bill for Medicaid in the coming year. Questions on that?
Nope, I'm good. Everybody good?
I have just one
Yeah.
question.
Oh.
You said on the PSI, it's going down each year?
Yes.
The exhibit, it shows it goes up in the third year. So is the
Well, what I
exhibit
meant-
wrong, or are you?
No, what
or
I
you
meant to say,
misspoke?
good question. What I meant to say is, in comparison to the prior contract, it's a significant decrease. Not to go down each year,
Okay.
right, but like, for 2016-17, it was about 100,000 more than that. And then for, same thing for 17-18, it was about 100,000 more than that too. Is that about right, George?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
For, for this upcoming school year, where it's 259 now, the previous amount was 325, and, where it's 264 for 18. I don't remember offhand, but it was an amount greater than, 325. So it's gone down from where
Okay.
we originally passed it.
All right.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? All right.
No, we're good.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Next, I will go through the human resource report for you this evening. The first one we have is a resignation of a leadership position. Mr. Carpenter has taken a position with Highland Local Schools, and we wish him nothing but the best of luck there. We have posted that position, and we'll be interviewing the plan is starting next week to find the replacement for Chapman's principal. We have 2 more resignations for certificated staff, as well as resignations for certificated and non-certificated supplemental contracts. Under 2, we have the non-renewal of leadership substitute contracts. Mr. Karras and Mr. Martin helped us out as interims last year, did a great job in their respective roles, and we just have to officially non-renew those substitute contracts, but greatly appreciate the work they did for us last year. Under 3, we have appointments of certificated staff. Just special note, Dave Krapansky, we're very excited. We've got our first position filled for our Air Force Junior ROTC program, and so pieces are going into place for that. And you will notice this year we have very few teacher positions that we have open because of all the closures and redistribution of staff. So I think, you know, Andy had a few interviews for a few positions, but there's probably less than 6 positions in the district. In the last few years, we've averaged 20 to 30 positions that we've hired, so much different than years past. Moving down on that page, we have the appointment of non-certificated a summer custodian, as well as extended school year support. Extended school years paid through the Part B grant, is for providing services throughout the summer for our students with special needs. The Jump Start program is paid for through Title I funds. Again, this happens in August and is a program to support our students with reading challenges. So
Cameron,
that,
is Evan related to Dawn?
yes.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Moving on to page 17. This is an annual item. We missed them in the last time when we put this all together, but these are for our school psychologists. There's a supplemental contract, additional time, and extended time for days. And Lindsay and Jenna are there for your approval. We also have, this is the time of year where we approve all of our year-long supplemental contracts, the non-athletic supplementals. You could see for non-certificated on page 17, and on page 18 is all of our certificated supplemental contracts. Moving on to page 19, we have certificated supplemental contracts paid upon completion. We hired some wrestling coaches at the middle school level for next year.
It's
And
good to see.
they're
Couple-
very,
I know of one, Adam Kletzer was a MAC, very successful MAC
Yeah.
wrestler, and,
Eric Castle was a very successful wrestler too. So our middle school wrestling coaching staff, we'll have some great
where did-
coaches there next year for him.
where did Eric wrestle? Was it,
I'd have to look. I know he coached when he was at his previous district, and I'd have to look
it
at
was
where
Ohio
he.
State, but I wasn't sure.
No.
I think it's
All I
big-
know is I would never want to wrestle him. He's a big man. He's,
4 state champions coming our way.
yeah.
Excellent.
Number 4, change in status. We were able to do a full recall for Renee Robley, one of our instrumental music teachers for next year. Under number 4, we have changes in status for non-certificated. Again, this details our OPSI staff members that are changing positions. We do have one thing to remove here, Mr. Naso. The third down, Sherry Callway from Clerk 1, 5 hours per day. That needs to be stricken from the agenda as some of these positions have been bumped, and she will no longer be in that position. Moving on to page 21, we have salary upgrades for the teachers listed there. Under number 6, we have marching band assistant, non-certificated stipend for Diane Fulkerson. We also have a stipend for Andy Jalwan through the OHSAA fund for running an athletic baseball tournament, as well as Lindsay Arndt, who provided a response to intervention leader service during summer school for us. On page 22, during summer school, we needed the services of a sign language interpreter, and that stipend's there. We had stipend for summer school compensatory speech, as well as a stipend for members of the Evaluation Review Committee, as listed there, that we meet annually to review all things OTES and non-OTES in our evaluation procedures, and we met on June 9th. Number 7, we have a continuing contract recommendation for Amy Edwards, as well as continuing contract recommendations for 2 non-certificated employees listed there. Going on to page 23, we have leaves for your approval. We have a disability leave, family medical leave, parental leave for certificated and non-certificated, as well as the approval of volunteers. And finally, we have the approval of a service agreement with the McKeon Education Group for services provided as listed there to St. Joseph's and John's. Again, those were the fiscal agent for those funds. We do need to make an adjustment. It says it's coming from the 001 general fund. That's incorrect. It's coming from the 401 auxiliary services for that item there.
Which item was that? That was item?
That's 12.
12.
So, yeah, 001 general fund should become 401 auxiliary services.
Holy goodness gracious.
And that concludes the human resource report, unless there's questions.
You did that like you were experienced at it.
I know, right?
11, E, 12. Fund change. Okay.
All right, moving on to technology. Vicki is in Colorado at the National Technology Conference, bringing back great ideas for our district, so I will fill in for her tonight. We have technology upgrades through our general fund. This was money still available in the budget from the previous school year that we are going to allocate, and as Vicki talked about in her previous report, we are going to use this for teacher computers, elementary projectors and whiteboards as supplies, as well as Chromebook cases and carts, not to exceed amount of $225,276. This is not inclusive of the one-to-one purchases. We have just finalized an agreement or discussion with Dell to provide the same services we've had with our other Samsung Chromebooks, so that will be on a future agenda items. These are just additional technology upgrades we're going to be able to make to some of the classrooms that haven't had them in the past. Number 2 is Meta Solutions Core Service Agreement. This is Meta provides, it's called our A-Site, or Information Services, our Student Information Services. Be it resolved, the recommendation that Schedule 1 of the agreement between Meta Solutions and the school district be approved to provide information technology services for the 2016-17 school year at an annual cost of $53,254.50, as well as Schedule 2 to provide transitional infrastructure fee for 16-17 at the cost of $10,924 as found in Exhibit U. And that concludes the technology report unless there's questions.
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks.
That brings us to item 12, report on Polaris. Richard?
Thank you, Mr. Naso. I just have to find the paperwork. There it is. So in addition to recognizing Chris earlier today and what a great job he did, I'm going to start I guess a new feature of the Polaris update. But it's going to highlight different programs at Polaris. And so the first two I have, one is aeronautics. And the aeronautics program was developed in collaboration with Kent State University. And it exposes students to the broad field of aviation, and I hope Duke is going to appreciate this. It focuses on aeronautical studies, the aviation profession, safety and security, airport management, aviation weather and flight theory. The students also learn aeronautical systems engineering technology, The students learn air traffic control, aviation management, and flight technology, which is the pilot training portion of the program. Students who successfully complete this program, because it's done with Kent State University, they earn 11 credit hours at Kent State University in their program, and it's part of that collaboration. Terry Christ is the teacher at Polaris who teaches the aeronautics program. He's been there for 5 years. He, prior to joining Polaris, he piloted an Air Force C-141 for 27 years and worked as a commercial pilot for Continental Airlines for 21 years. He also holds a BA in math and physics. Our local student success story is Nicholas Hayter, who graduated from Strongsville in 2015. When he was at Polaris, he was active in his program. He was also a Polaris student ambassador, and he is currently pursuing a degree in aviation studies at Kent State University. And then the other program I want to highlight today is Precision CNC Machining. It introduces students to the high-demand field of manufacturing in a hands-on lab setting. Students learn to manufacture components from concept to completion using computer numerical control, better known as CNC. They earn nationally recognized certification from the National Institute of Metal Forming Skills, and this program has a component with Tri-C, and if you complete this program, you are awarded 3 credits from Tri-C. Tony Sambajak is the instructor or the teacher. He's been there for over 17 years at Polaris. He has prepared hundreds of high school and adult students for manufacturing careers. Prior to joining Polaris, he worked 20 years as a tool and die and a mold maker and a CNC programmer at Lunar Tool and Mold in North Royalton. And our graduate success story, because I always like to try to bring a real-world example, is Grant O'Brien, who also graduated in 2015. When he was at Polaris, he joined the National Technical Honor Society. He was a participant in the school to apprenticeship program. And so he apprenticed at Swagelok in Strongsville during the summer of his junior and senior years. After he graduated, Swagelok offered him a full-time job, which he accepted. And as part of that full-time job, Swagelok is paying for him to attend Tri-C and earn his applied industrial technology degree. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of the different programs and the different things you can do at Polaris. On the adult side, there are 2 new programs, Automotive Service Technician, along with Office Administration. If you are interested in the adult education, classes do fill up fast. Please visit polaris.edu/job training, and there will be an open house for the adult programs on Tuesday, August 9th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And that concludes my Polaris report.
Anything on legislation?
I am happy to report that the Ohio legislature is on recess. They recessed a few weeks ago, and they're not coming back until after the election in November. I think we should all learn a little thing about how long recess should last from their example. And that concludes my report.
Excellent, thank you. That brings us to board liaison reports. Jane, you got anything on city council?
Yes, as you'll notice, they had a July 1st completion date for the Pearl Road project that they are finished with, so they were ahead of schedule, so that's exciting. That section of Pearl Road from 82 down to Valley Parkway, which is the Metro Parks, is completed. So if you haven't been down Pearl Road, take a drive down and check out the middle school at the same time. They also wanted to highlight that thanks to the generosity, again, of all the communities, the business people in our community, we will be having a 4th of July fireworks and fireworks at the homecoming this year. And that's only possible by the generous donations of all the businesses and city leaders in our community. So that concludes my city council report.
Excellent. You want to move on to PTA or student
Yeah,
achievement?
well, PTA last month, they gave their comprehensive report. I just wanted to remind everyone that the president for PTA council next year will be Laura Hausum. And the high school PTA had after prom, which was very successful, and there's a very nice letter in the Post from last week if you want to see all of the people that help contribute and make after prom a success.
Richard, you helped with that, right?
I have
We had a
no
special
idea what you're
guest,
talking
yes.
about.
Elvis was in the building. And then for student achievement, I thought it was only fitting, since we no longer will be having Albion and Center, that I would highlight student achievements from each of those schools. So from Albion, I want to give a shout out to a teacher and her intervention specialist, Mrs. Vish and Jenna Rutz, and they utilize in their classrooms, they teach pre-algebra, which is kind of a tricky subject for some students, but they give all kinds of innovative programs like fake money that can be redeemed for incentives for doing well, and so they've had a lot of success with that, and hopefully they'll bring that to the new Strongsville Middle School.
Saying they learned how to money launder in that
There you go. Well, I don't know about that. But, and then from Center, this is a true meaning of student achievement. Cole Joniak was an 8th grader, and he presented an idea of creating a Center coding club to his friend Luke Chesney, who was a 7th grader. But they had one problem: who would be the advisor? So they found an advisor who knew very little about coding, and together they created a plan. Mrs. Novak would be the advisor. She's a math teacher from Center and will be at the Strongsville Middle School now. The club would meet on Thursday mornings at 7:20 a.m., so they got to school early. And I don't know anything about coding, so if I get this wrong, please correct me. Scratch.mit.edu would be the fee program that the coders would be using. And Cole and Luke were in charge of the coding club. And they wrote morning announcements to encourage people to come and let students know about the club. And they had 7 students the first week, and eventually it grew to 10 to 16 students that would come to these coding clubs. So the students learned to code 5 different games. And so while next year Cole will be at the high school, Luke and Varden Shaw will continue to be the teachers of the Strongsville Middle School Coding Club. So if you're interested in coding, we encourage you to get involved with that at the middle school next year. So they welcome you to join. You don't have to make a commitment for the whole year. You can come in and out of the club as your time allows. That is my student achievement.
Excellent. Thank you, Jane.
Carl. Jane, it's interesting you mentioned that, because one of the programs associated with the junior ROTC we're starting is called Cyber Warrior. And they form teams. Richard probably interested in this too, because they'll need advisors and all that. But they form a team at the high school, and I believe they all go to a competition somewhere in the country sponsored by the U.S. Air Force, because Air Force is in charge of our cyber defense. And these students from high schools go in and compete against each other to see who can come up with the best programs and the best coding and all
Right.
that.
Is that
And,
part of the ROTC program?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. So it's another opportunity for, especially these kids get to high school level.
The interest is definitely there.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to be a flyer, like Richard was saying. For the Air Force, you can be a cyber warrior now and do the computer defenses. So.
Good to know. Thank you.
Good to know. All right. For Strongsville Education Foundation, I don't have anything for that today. That brings us to board committees. Finance Committee, we did not have a Finance Committee meeting. Policy Committee?
We're on time and under budget. What else we need to know? Finance.
Go ahead.
We did meet June 10th. That sounds good. We met June 10th. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But we did meet a week or two ago. We reviewed a host of policies that are up for various reasons. They'll be on for first reading next meeting, and we look forward to discussing them. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Facilities Committee, George? Anything?
Our last meeting was here.
Yep.
Public meeting regarding Drake, and our next meeting will be July 20th.
Excellent. That brings us to item 16, the consent calendar. I've never seen so many modifications to the consent calendar ever. But the first thing I'd like to say, on the consent calendar, I would like to make a motion to remove item 11B1 from the consent calendar and vote on that separately. That's the insurance approval.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. I don't think Do we need to vote on that, George? No, we don't
No.
need to vote
No.
on that, so we'll just move that over. Thank you. We also, so in that, it's moved. We had corrections to 11E12 for a fund change. We had a correction to 11E4 to take one individual out, Colway out. We had a correction to 10C, I don't have the number written down, to change the funds, the flip from and to on that. We had a change to 11B1 to strike the early PTA and hockey associations from those lists. I think that's all the consent. It was 5? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that was on a separate vote, not on the consent calendar. 11C, there was a change. I'll look at it real quick.
You're earning that extra president's pay
No
tonight.
kidding. Mayor's basement.
That was to the addendum. Was
Oh, okay.
change Hammond
Oh, that was the, yep, that was,
to GPD,
okay,
and that was
Thank
already
you.
voted on.
cool, we got that covered.
10C, you got that.
Oh, 10C was the from too, okay. Perfect. Okay, so let's vote on the consent calendar first. Do I have a motion?
I move that as modified, we approve the consent calendar.
Thank you. Second?
Second?
Thank you, George. Any discussion? Take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes. Let's go back to 11B1. And this, we'll have to have a separate vote on this. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Duke made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
George made the second. For discussion purposes, I will abstain from this vote. The insurance contract is placed with Todd and Associates, and my sister works there. So I've had no discussions in the negotiations. I've had no part of it. First time I saw it was when it showed up on here. And every year I look for her name and abstain. So, take roll.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Abstain.
Motion passes
Sure
4-0.
you didn't meet him on the airplane or the tarmac?
I did not.
Well,
Like,
Abstain doesn't count.
oh, Lord. I can have that man. All right, let's get back to the end of this thing. All right, that brings us to, hold on a second. Board of Education, other. We do have one we have, the first one is the resolution authorizing the public solicitation of proposals to purchase school property. Be it resolved that the Strongsville Board of Education approves a resolution authorizing the public soliciting of proposals to purchase Dexter F. Drake Elementary School at 20566 Albion Road, and this would be all 3 parcels. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Duke makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
George makes a second. Any discussion? No,
We just made a resolution to send our renewal levy and get it certified to bring it back. We've worked very hard within this district to reduce costs. We have to reduce costs for the entire district. We have to manage the district and all of its costs for all the students. Shutting down Zellers wasn't easy for me, my family, and my kids. When Allen was shut down, it wasn't easy either. So the decision that I make, or the second that I make, is those types of decisions you have to make for everybody, for the entire community, for the district as a whole. And that's why I second the motion.
thank you. This is just one of those items where we have to weigh financial prudence against student achievement. And if we don't manage our money and all of our assets properly, then we can't achieve this, then we can't maximize the resources for student achievement. And for that reason,
And if I can, we're not selling the property. We're going out to find what the value of the property is, so that we can make a decision after the process has been put down. I mean, all we're saying is let's go find out what are our options? What are the values? Should we spend the money to tear the building down? So again, we're not voting on selling the property. What we're voting on is to go gather more information.
Is there even any interest?
Don't know. We don't know.
And we still have the funds in the construction budget to demolish it.
Who, me?
Me?
He said, is there any interest out there?
Yeah, just to find out if there's interest in even doing that. Plus, there's another thing to keep in mind, is that we just lost $3.6 million due to the governor's veto of our support funds from the state level. So that makes it all the more important that we look at every asset that we have and make the most prudent decision we can to maximize, as George and Carl said, the best use of district resources.
Any other comments? Take a vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes, motion passes. That brings us to item 18, meeting notification. There'll be a board meeting on July 11th at 7 PM right here in the hottest room in the city.
We will have air conditioning working by that time.
Will we?
Yes.
Excellent, because it is
Or
hot
we will have a
as heck in
barbecue hosted by the Business Services Director.
here. Excellent.
You're coming as the entree.
We do have a need for executive session.
Yes, we do, Mr. Naso, under, to consider matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any discussion? Keep it to 10 minutes.
I can make it 5.
Excellent. Take a vote.
Colonel Evans?
Yes.
Mrs. Ludwig?
Yes.
Mr. Miko?
Yes.
Mr. Naso?
Yes,
Mr. Grozan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
excellent. We'll enter in at 8:05.
9:05.
9:05. Wow, 9:05. We have no need for business afterwards. And happy 4th of July to everybody. See you at the fireworks.